Shalom. I want to stop giving all praise to Yahweh, Basham Yahushai, Basham Kakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching of scriptures, among other things, and salutations to all the Akyam across the earth for doing this work in sincerity and in truth, and Shalom to the sincere brothers and sisters who are at home watching the videos and do their best to please Yahweh, Basham Yahushai. So yeah, man, this video I want to go into an article that I stumbled up on yesterday, and it's from the AD, which is basically a news platform. They also own usually, they started with a newspaper, and nowadays everything is digital, most of the things, so you find it online. So there was an article that I stumbled upon yesterday. I'm just gonna jump to the article, and for us, who are in this truth, these are I say, they're beautiful things to see, because these things that are happening, they go hand in hand with the downfall of the rulership of these so-called white people, of the Edomites. It's showing us that Yahushai, the coming of Yahushai is around the corner. So yeah, already 50 festivals in the Netherlands cancelled in 2025, including parties with top acts. The growth has gone. After the turbulent festival season of 2024, in which more than 100 Dutch music festivals were cancelled. So last year already, they also cancelled more than 100 of these festivals, which is beautiful, 2025 is also proving to be a difficult year. At least 50 festivals have already been cancelled. And basically the start of that, when it really started, all these parties being cancelled, these festivals and all that, was during the C19. They cancelled everything. And basically after that, a lot of organizers also went bankrupt. They lost their money, in the Horeca. A lot of people, they had, because they had to close also, like the cafes and the bars and all that, they had to close also during that time. So a lot of people lost their job and they went to other jobs. And that's also a thing, because now they can, I said that they have a hard time to find employments, to find employees. So they have a hard time with that also, So let me see. 2025 is also proving to be a difficult year. At least 50 festivals have already been cancelled, mostly for financial reasons. As a result, the festival market now looks completely different. The growth has gone, confirms the Association of Event Makers. The Netherlands counts around 1,200 arts and culture festivals. In addition to the smaller festivals, the big parties will also fall in 2025. The 3-day The Rock Circus by Mojo, the largest concert organizer in our country, is a well-known example. And this Mojo, they've been struggling a lot. I remember like hearing from a lot of times that they were not able to basically to pay artists, and artists didn't show up because they didn't get paid by them, and they had to cancel the concert or whatever, and then people that already bought tickets, they had, of course, they need to get their money back, so yeah. Let me see. The 3-day Rock Circus by Mojo, the largest concert organizer in our country, is a well-known example. Headliner Dropkick Murphys, who recently performed in a full Ziggo Dome, was ready to blow thousands of guitar fans away in the Brabanthalle in Den Bosch in October. But the organization cannot meet the expectations, is the explanation. On the same day, hardstyle festival Supercharge in Amsterdam, 7,500 visitors, was also cancelled. Reason, rising costs make it too expensive. A selection of other festivals that will not go ahead. Flying Dutch festivals, 100,000 visitors. Indian Summer Festival, 25,000 visitors. Mayana Mayana, 30,000 visitors. And the Graveland Festival in Hogeveen, with a big rock band as headliner that they had even booked exclusively. We hope for a turnaround until the last moment, but unfortunately, that did not happen, the organization's reports. It is not yet clear whether 50 festivals will continue later this year. This means that they are still working on permits or financing. Reports event researcher Lex Kruiver of Response Eventment in 2024. More than 100 festivals were cancelled so far. Fewer festivals have been cancelled than last year. This can also be explained. A large number of those festivals have not returned. And then you have like a poll, so people they want to know if people are why people if people are going less to festivals, and what be the reasons or whatever. Experts sees that organizers are reconsidering their plans or adjusting festivals formulas, partly due to a number of constricting factors. However, there is no question of a sudden crisis, thinks the Association of Dutch Pop Venues and Festivals. It's rather a sum of developments that make organizing festivals more challenging than ever, says director Berend Schans. According to him, a major bottleneck is that many visitors are waiting longer and longer to buy tickets. This makes it difficult for organizers to have certainty about income in advance. It is difficult to say where there is a wait and see attitude. It's lucky. It is difficult to say where this wait and see attitudes come from. It may be due to the high inflation or the wide range of options. Others say that visitors have become much more critical. Festivals have become so professionalized in the past 20 years that they are partly succumbing to their own success. According to the festival researcher Martijn Mulder, a stage in a meadow with a beer tap is no longer what visitors do it for. It also has to look slick, says Mulder. Furthermore, ticket swaps has changed the market for good, and that sometimes has a negative effect on organizers. Visitors can often buy cheaper tickets on this trading platform from people who drop out at the last minute. That money does not end up with the event maker, while the price for staff, materials, energy, catering, and other facilities have increased considerably in recent years, says Hans. Artists, especially from the United States, are also asking for increasingly higher fees. Ticket sales for concerts by big names such as Lady Gaga and the Sigel Dome, and the festivals such as Lowlands and Awakens this weekend are still going strong. But yeah, blah blah blah. This article's not really that how you say that important. The story is not really important. How and why? This is just a sign, another token. Showing us that uh, times are about to change. That Yahushua is getting ready to come back. That is basically what it is. How said it showing. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than go to the house of feasting, for that's the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Yeah, because you know, if you are not in the house of feasting, so basically you are living in reality. You are not living in this la la land, because that's what people basically doing. They be basically being like in an ostrich, putting the head in the ground and act like nothing is going on. If you look around you, India and Pakistan, they recently start. That's Pakistan, yeah. they recently start to fight amongst each other. Of course, you had the thing going on with Russia and Ukraine, and all these countries that basically are involved. You got BRICS on one side, you got NATO on the other side. So the third world war is about to be unleashed. It's around the corner. So uh, uh, of course you should be. We got Yahweh Basham Yahushai and Yahuwah. We're gonna stay in the knowledge of Yahweh Basham Yahushai until the end. You know but yeah, majority of people, they have no clue. So they and that's also a thing. But the scriptures also talk about it. When somebody's about to perish, you give him a strong drink. People want to forget their problems and all that. But yeah, a lot of people are also living in la la land. The sun comes out and they're thinking about festivals. And like last year, I believe last year or the year before, yeah, last year also, there were a lot of festivals that also literally have fallen into the water. It started to rain. They had festivals that would take place for a couple of days, and then it was raining. People they were camping, chilling in their tents and all that. It was one big mud trash. Tractors had to come to pull the cars out of the parking lot and things like that. So let me see. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 3. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. And the word heart goes back to the Hebrew word lab, which means your mind. So if you go into difficulties, you're gonna basically sharpen your mind. You're gonna think about solutions and be aware. And you get strong. Also, if you never had some difficulties in your life, and as soon as something happens, you will fall. You would basically throw in the towel because you're not used to take a punch. Let me see. Verse 4. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of the fools is lucky. But the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. And that's the majority of the people in general. Our people, the so-called Negros, Latinos, and the so-called Indianos, and these heathens. Let me see. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 24 and verse 7. The new mind mourneth, uh, the vine languages, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of the terror ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiced ended, the joy of the harp ceased. And that's a trend that we already saw this going on ever since they started with this C19. They shall not drink wine with a strong, or it's like they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Yeah, and that's basically what you see going on. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. And that's basically what happened during the C19. There was a glimpse of it, but it's going to be far more worse. There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. There's no more fun. Like years ago, with you had this world soccer tournament, a football tournament, and how do you say that, here in Holland, it used to be big. I believe last year or the year before that, even I think it was last year, there was also a tournament going on, and it was not really people. Yeah, they tried to push it on the television and all that, but people were not really feeling it. I remember when I was younger, they used to make the whole street orange. People would drive with the orange flags on their cars, and people would be on the streets painting the flag of Holland on their face and stuff like that. And when the soccer was when the matches were going on, there was the back in the days, there was barely anybody at the streets. People were would stay at home, and you could hear people cheer if there was a goal or whatever. But and they had campings. People went all there to basically for the basically for the football, for the soccer. But nowadays it's not anymore like that anymore. It's beautiful to see. There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolations, and the gate is smitten with destruction. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25 and verse 10. Moreover, I will take from thee the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstone and the light of the candles. And that's also thing you like a lot of companies, for example, like Nissan, the car brand, they doing bad. They dropped they are getting ready to drop, I think, 500 people or even more. They be closing factories and all that. So the jobs also, people losing their jobs. A lot of companies here in Holland also, they were like famous companies just all of a sudden just stopped. Also like the car tires, you have Vredestein, which is also a well-known brand for car tires, and that factory also quit. They also quit at a certain point. And I also saw an article that they were talking about that last year they basically already sold the ground when where the factory is on. So yeah, and of course, ESO is always playing dirty games. So yeah, a lot of shit might have been going on behind the scenes, but nevertheless, the fact is there that a lot of people also are losing their jobs. You keep almost every day you read about a company that basically was not able to maintain, to had to go bankrupt. For example, we had like a store called Blokker here in Holland. They also used to have a lot of how say that a lot of shops spread all over Holland, and they also had to basically quit. And now they say that they talking about that they are gonna continue with with lesser shops and all that. But yeah, these are all signs showing us that the coming of Yahushua is around the corner. So this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 21 and verse 8. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus saith Yahweh the Most High. Say, a sword is sharpened. Say a sword is sharpened and also furbished. Yeah, and that's what's going on. Like I said, if you look around you, you see all these countries getting ready for war. Yahushua is getting ready to send a sword. Like I said in book of Matthew, chapter 10. He comes to send a sword. Let me jump to that real quick. I'm gonna go back to the book of Ezekiel. Let me see. Book of Matthew, chapter 10. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 34. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. You see that? A sword is a weapon of to fight with. That's like Yahushua said, like I just read. He does not come to send peace, but he comes to come with a sword to hand out judgment. So back to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 21 and verse 10. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter, for it is furbished that it may glitter. Let me start from top again, Slakia. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 21 and verse 10. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? You see that? So when death and destruction is around the corner, is that the time to make mirth? Remember how it was in the days of Noah, The people were also making mirth. When, meanwhile, Noah was preaching for 120 years to those people, People were really having mirth and all that, We're doing all that shit. Should we then make mirth? It condemned the rod of my son as every tree. And he had given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened and is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer. So you see that? So, hey, hell is about to be unleashed, And let me jump real quick to the book of Matthew, chapter 24. For the example that I gave in the days of Noah. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 36. But if the day and hour knoweth no man, but meanwhile, we measure it out the time diligently in itself. We watching the events going on in the world, seeing these these things, these developments that are going on, which makes us, the hopeful elect, those are who are chosen, Yahweh to Yahweh Basham Yahushai, to understand this knowledge and to see, and Yahweh to to stay in this and be part of that number. We are aware of the times that we are in. We don't give a shit about festival, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with having some fun, having a get together or whatever, but you shouldn't get lost in that whole I say that, and all that nonsense. Don't be like them in La La Land. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 36. But of the day and hour know no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So only Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, knows when it's time for Yahushai to come back, But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's going to be in the same way. Like I said, people were having all that fun. And then, the Most High told Noah to enter into the ark with his wife, with his sons and their wives and the animals that he appointed to. And the Heavenly Father closed up the door of the ark, sealed it. And then water started to fall from the sky and coming from beneath the earth, and everybody got drowned, man and beast, So in the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Yeah, and only this time it's going to be with fire, nuclear fire, missiles going to be flying around, America's, aka Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed. It's going to be a desert, you're going to see chariots shooting laser beams, people going to be zapped to powder. You're going to see a big fathership who will come to beam up the elect. Hey, it's going to be horrible, man. So yeah, should we then be in mirth? No, we preparing ourselves, and Yaharatazah, that we when Yahushua comes back, that we have done enough to be accepted by him. So yeah, man, I'm gonna leave the video like that. So with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Kakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching of scriptures, among other things, and salutations to all the Akyam across the earth for doing this work in sincerity and in truth, and shalom to the sincere brothers and sisters who are at home watching the videos and do the best to please Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai. So yeah, man, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.